welcome back once again to the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series here in Montreal, Canada, America, as we get ready to move on to our final match of the day. I'm Nathanius. It's been a pleasure to have you here so far at the World Championship Series. Don't mind me, I'm just joined by two of my best buddies, Fear Dragon and Pig, who also coincidentally happen to love StarCraft. Pig, how have you been enjoying day 2 here?
It's been good. I feel like it's been heating up. I feel like it's been building up, you know? I enjoyed a lot of the series today, but especially the last couple of ones there have been nice and close. They've been a bit action-packed. And it was cool to see Denver there bring out some, you know, some surprising strategies. Missed a few opportunities, but that's it. I mean, it's just kind of heating up, and everyone's had their eyes on this match. There's so much support for the young one. There's so much support for the veteran. It's just a fantastic way to finish off the top 16.
Yeah. How do you feel about the USA spam going on in the Twitch chat right now, Fear Dragon?
I can feel it from here, Nate, and I'm super excited about it. And I also know that there's also a lot of people who are really big Reynor fans. I mean, even here in North America, I've been seeing a really nice split between players or just fans saying, oh, they're really cheering for Reynor versus Neeb.
Well, I'm pretty sure with the history of USA chants in Twitch chat for StarCraft, it's probably a 50% of the USA cheers are for Reynor, right? I mean,
that's true. Or Cyril. Cyril's gotten a part of that market as well now.
Stefano was the true USA champ.
Paul as well, Captain America.
Yeah,
you know,
but he did at least play in America. Stefano, we couldn't really justify that one.
He was Captain America.
Yeah,
so.
But it's a cool match that we get to build up towards. I mean, a lot of fans, of course, being able to watch Neeb play in prime time. Everybody loves him. So getting close to midnight over in Italy, I think. I'm used to doing the 9-hour calculation, but now we're on East Coast. It's a bit closer. It's not as late.
That's about right. Yeah, I'm sure there's some passionate Italian fans up late to watch.
Saturday night. I mean, come on. What do you got better plans than watching StarCraft? Of course, Neeb was a 3-time champion last year. Cyril is the guy looking to be the first to get 4.
I actually feel like I want to bring up the time zone stuff that you were just talking about. I know you're talking about Italian fans and stuff, but Neeb coming in from Korea yesterday, or I think arrived like only a few hours before his match. Got off the plane because he got delayed at the airport, and then he ended up losing a series to Semper, so wasn't feeling great about that. He came out second in his group. It's already been just sort of a rocky tournament. He did have a lot of time to kind of rest up and stuff, but this is still one of those situations where, like, this is not the most ideal Neeb, I think, for a tournament.
Maybe not in that condition, but in terms of his overall skill right now, training, it is the complete opposite, right? He's been absolutely smashing it. We've talked a bit yesterday as well when we were discussing Neeb, how he kind of had some slow start to the year, and then he kind of went over and he won that Chinese tournament, beating some of the best players in the world, and now he's made the semifinals at GSL. Neeb is this player, when he decides to really be committed, it's just hilarious how many games he puts in, and also he just sees the game in a very clear way. He's a really, really smart dude.
Fear Dragon, a quick word about Reynor then.
Okay, Reynor, obviously, I think a really, really big up-and-comer. The cool thing about Reynor is if you look at the online tournament scene, because he wasn't allowed to play in WCS since he hadn't turned 16 until halfway through the year, so we don't have a lot of him at offline events until, I guess, like unless you look back a few years ago. Recently, online events, Reynor is killing it right now. Raynor's looking so strong.
All right, let's see our players come up onto the stage. Smix is going to introduce our final match of the day. It's the Youngin versus our American Hope here for the World Championship Series. You ready to rock and roll, Smix?
Yes, indeed. It's been a long day of StarCraft, but what a way to round out day number 2 here at the WCS, as we have a 3-time WCS champion going up against 2018's youngest rising star. Please give it up. It is Neeb and Reynor.
And so it came to pass that 2 of our foreign titans this year that have done a really good job of building up a lot of hype. Reynor, who had that top 8 at Valencia, now that he's finally eligible to play, also qualified, made it to the top 16 of Code S. And Neeb, who just finished in the semifinals of this season of GSL Code S, a 3-time champion from last year. 2 players that really have a lot of StarCraft fans fired up, gentlemen.
Yeah, we even saw Reynor face off against Neeb in the GSL, I think, at one point. So this is going to be a match that happened also not too long ago. It's going to be pretty interesting to see how things go.
Yeah, Pig?
Yeah, it's really cool because I just think back to Reynor, you know, it was over 2 years ago at Valencia when he got that surprise top 8 performance as a 14-year-old. So I've just been kind of watching him rise, and I'm very excited for the way he uses those Zerglings. He always seems to find a way in. One of the most active players with his unit compositions, and someone who's very exciting to watch because he does play very mobility, harassment-focused styles. He doesn't necessarily play quite as standard as other Zergs, and there's risks within the way he plays, but he's happy to take those risks because he likes a more mobile game where he can use his APM, his harassment, and his positioning to take advantage of his skill set.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are really excited to see a fast-paced game here. Do we think that either of these players has a huge advantage over the other in any particular area of the game, maybe, if we think it's an even match?
I feel like Neeb, maybe with the planning, has a bit of an edge for kind of planning out some builds to snipe him down.
Yeah, I feel like Neeb's PVZ specifically lately has been looking super on point. He's got that killer instinct a lot of the time, whereas I feel like Pig already kind of touched on what Reynor is really, really good at, those kind of counterattacks, finding little opportunities with those Zerglings in every which way and every possible angle, which, especially versus Neeb, really, really strong.
All right, well, let's find out who's going to make it on our last player to get into the round of 8. It's time for Reynor versus Neeb.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's the marquee matchup, the last one of the round of 16. Reynor, a young man just entering the WCS, goes over to Korea, makes a big splash, comes back over here in dominant form, going up against Neeb, a guy whose name is stamped all over 2017 and is looking to make his mark here as well. In the top right-hand side, out of Italy, it's the young person, Reynor.
And on the left bottom side of Cerulean 4, we're looking at the main base of the American Protoss. Guys, make some noise for Neeb.
Neeb had a bumpy ride yesterday, getting in late, barely surviving some of those opponents. I actually have it on, last I heard he actually still hasn't gotten his bag from the flight. This is the kind of stuff that can make being a pro gamer kind of difficult. Playing from home in the comfort of your own place, it's really easy, but when you have to go on the road, you have to adjust your setup, even going just to from the stage to the player pit, all that kind of stuff can make it tough, and that's where Neeb has a lot of experience, and Reynor surprisingly has shown that he's not really, he's not touched by it. It doesn't seem to bother him.
Almost nothing phases that young man. I just want to touch on Reynor, his WCS year real quick, because of course he's only been eligible to join just a few months ago. Valencia was his first offline official WCS event. Of course he had DreamHack and WESG in the past, but that was the first official offline WCS event. He played 3 group stages. He won all 3 of them.
Amazing.
Won his round of 16, lost against Serral. Over here, he comes in. Group stage 1 has a very tough group with both TLO and Soul. Wins it. Group stage 2 wins it again. Group stage 3 wins it again. This kid has played a group stage 6 times and won all 6 of his groups. That's insane, Jeff. That's so freaking amazing already.
Usually there's some kind of learning curve or some butterfly period, but he just comes in, slays, smiles, and does it again. Now, he's facing Neeb, who it sounds weird to say this, but is a step down from a Serral. This is a very doable round for him. In fact, Kevin, I overheard you kind of talking before this match. I think you favor Reynor here.
Yes, and I know that will be a surprise to some people. Some people will call me nuts. Of course, Neeb just comes off one of the most impressive runs we've ever seen. Semi-finals in GSL Code S. That is absolutely amazing. He took out Rogue, and he did it in a dominating way. He even took out Reynor on his way. So obviously it sounds crazy to favor Reynor here. But I've just got that feeling. I have the feeling that Reynor was a little mentally crushed after he lost that series against Maru, especially that game 2, where I think we all know he was very far ahead. And I think he was just in a slump. He wasn't totally there. But I believe you're going to see a stronger Reynor today. And I really feel that Reynor has what it takes to push Neeb to the limit. Now, I'm not sleeping on Neeb. I see Neeb as one of the top dogs for this tournament.
Yeah.
But Reynor, for me, is one of the absolute top dogs next to Serral.
Well, either way, it's going to be an absolutely amazing matchup. Whether you favor, Reynor or Neeb, it's not a bad pick. The only unfortunate thing is that this is a round of 16. One of these 2 players is not going to go on. But we will be seeing Neeb at BlizzCon, and actually, where does Reynor fall in the ranks?
He needs to win it.
Yeah, he's way behind.
Yeah, obviously he couldn't collect any points during Leipzig and Austin, so it's just not a fair race. Now, Reynor winning this entire tournament, obviously that would be a ridiculous story. But I'm not gonna say that that is impossible, Jeff. Like, he's not the favorite, but he is a very dangerous outsider, if you ask me. As dangerous as anyone is, that's not Serral.
And not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but tomorrow, Serral will be facing Scarlet, who is the most recent foreigner, not only to really beat him in a full series, but also to give him the best run for his money. So it is going to be kind of a scary matchup in that round of 8 tomorrow, but that's then. This is now. Neeb is going to opt for a second Stargate. We've been seeing a lot of this. This is something that's kind of come in and out of the meta most recently. It's definitely one of the builds you can deploy in a best of 5. And Roddy, why do people keep going to the second Stargate?
It's just awesome. Obviously, Phoenixes are great in controlling the map. You deny vision from Zerg, something that Zerg players have a lot. You are guaranteed to do economic damage. You'll always find a couple drones. With a little bit of luck, you find more Overlords. You find Queens on the other side of the map. And more importantly, you force out Spore Crawlers, which also hurts the Zerg economy. And in general, that's hard to accomplish with an Archon drop. Zerg players got so freaking good in knowing when to make a couple roaches. However, Phoenix is so fast, so mobile, and they're just guaranteed to do damage. Now, of course, the build does have downsides as well. Or weaknesses.
Kevin, you and I are on full cast mode now. That was actually my next question. It's like, Kevin, that all sounds amazing, but what can go wrong?
Now, it can be hard to go up to 3 bases. As you can see here, Phoenixes are not good in dealing with Zerglings. I love the adapt positioning, though, by Neeb, and he's got the Oracle to help out defensively as well. Whoa, that's not a good move, Neeb. No, that's going to be a dead Phoenix.
I've got the high ground. But that's all you had.
And that's rough. And I feel the Hydra then is quite quick as well. And one other problem when you open up double Stargate is that it's going to be a long game. Like, this is nice and good and all. You're going to control the pace of the game for a bit. But it's going to take a very long time before you have a very strong Immortal Archon ground composition.
Saw a couple more Queens coming out. I'm still... I want this Nidus play to happen, but I don't think it will.
No, there's no Nidus here.
You don't think so?
No, it's too risky as well. I mean, there's a chance he goes Hydra Nidus, but there's really no need to do so.
Hydra Nidus Queen?
Yeah.
When you scout double Stargate, I think I agree with you ultimately that it is a bit too risky.
It's a ladder play.
Scout that early out.
It's something that the people on ladder do against you and me.
That's where I'm
absolutely
from.
destroy us. But yeah, they don't do it on this
level. They
level.
had me commentating Shadone and Haz. So what I think is normal StarCraft right now is a little bit different from everybody else.
No, Reynor, I don't think it's going to be that crazy. Now, one thing I'm going to keep a close eye on is that a lot of people were very critical of Reynor in his game in the GSL when he went up against Neeb on Catalyst, I believe it was. And he was really stuck on his Hydra Ling Bane composition. Now, that has a lot to do with the defense against the Phoenixes. I am sure that if Reynor is okay with how this is going, and I think so far it is going more than okay, actually. Oh my goodness, Neeb, what are you doing?
And he flew back over it, actually.
Wow. Okay, well, I think that Reynor can play this out in so many different ways. Now, he gets another one. Jeez Louise, this is a terrible, terrible start for Neeb.
Yeah, they killed 6 drones and lost 6 Phoenix. It's absolutely horrendous. He's actually still making Phoenix, or I guess that's the residual kind of leftovers. You don't build into that anymore. You can't get back up to that count. But without those Phoenix to do all the things you were talking about, continuous economic damage, even threatening the attack across the map, this becomes a little bit scary.
Phoenixes are very important in picking up reinforcements as well. These kind of attacks are normally not scary because you have 10, 12 Phoenixes picking up Hydras one by one.
Is this too early?
Well, this is very early, but with reinforcements, I actually don't hate this that much because how is Neeb going to engage his army, Jeff? Neeb really doesn't have much.
If the Lings get stasis warded here, they're off creep.
But this army is so weak of Neeb. It has there's nothing.
It is Protoss, Kevin. He's going to kind of go forward. He hasn't made that Archon. A couple of weird mistakes here. And now he does jump on top of this, and these Hydras are going to try to retreat. It's just Lings behind that. They have a good base of firepower behind that, but all of a sudden the Lings are gone. The Zealots jump on top of it. And I knew I saw some trouble here as the Archons are going to reinforce, and those Hydras are thrown to the wind.
Yeah, that was a good cleanup by Neeb indeed. That stasis helped a little bit, these couple Lings. But that wasn't the real army of Reynor, right? Reynor was producing a lot of units at home. He's still getting upgrades.
Is it 3 base versus 3 base?
No, it's 4.
All right, well, yeah. We'll call that a baby base.
No, I do agree with you that that attack was unnecessary. I didn't really think that Reynor was going to end up losing his Hydras, but he indeed kind of lost the majority of them. Maybe 1 or 2 survive. So a little bit sloppy. Maybe Reynor getting a tiny bit over-eager there, knowing he did a tremendous job against the Phoenix. Because, guys, if you don't watch this matchup all the time, as we have a quick little pause here, to put things in perspective, there is a lot of games where you see this opening out of Protoss and not a single Phoenix goes down, but they get 18 drones. That's actually pretty common. Sometimes it's 12, sometimes it's 14, but you see that a lot. And then eventually 1 or 2 Phoenixes will fall. losing 6 Phoenixes while only killing 6 drones is highly uncommon
it's
on
terrible.
this level.
It's really, really bad. It's not as bad as what was thrown away by Reynor, but it's still, that was not good as well. So both these players kind of gifting each other another opportunity here. And just looking at the situation now, it is 3 going on 4 bases for Neeb against the 4 bases established here for our Zerg player. The problem I have for Reynor, by losing those Hydras, he's going to want to probably go into something like Lurkers or some other tech than just Hydraling Baneling right now. But Storm is already queued up. By the next time he attacks, he will be facing the composition, right? Immortal Archon, Storm, and all the fixings. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's still, I don't know how high the Immortal count is. I think we're only looking at a single Immortal at this point, so it's going to take a little while. The game is ready to continue, guys, so no worries. Now, I am really curious to see if Reynor has changed up his play, because once again, in that one game in the GSL, he was a little too stubborn. He was very, very stuck on his Ling, Hydra, Bane composition. I am curious to see if we see a quicker Hive this time, or those Lurkers that you just mentioned, or what the ultimate game plan is here for Reynor.
It's going to have to be something. He's going to go across the map here, and if you look at that production tab, it is still some drones coming out, but mostly Army, and as I said, of course, 4 more drones queued up.
And an infestation pit as well.
Yep, so he will approach towards Hive Tech. Honestly, I really would have liked... We actually haven't seen a lot of Lurkers this tournament at all, at least on our main stream. I would have liked that here, but these Banelings kind of waddle in. They're undetected.
Yep, no vision on this side either. It's going to be very hard for Neeb to save these workers. 11-12 going down very quickly. At the same time, Reynor was perhaps looking for a cancel on that 4th base. There are drones in the mix there as well. That's something we've seen pretty often in this tournament.
Yeah.
The offensive
again,
drone.
both these guys playing at the end of the day can be kind of a tough spot. Neeb came all the way over from Korea. So facing a little bit of jet lag, something that the Koreans had to do for years and years coming to tournaments. Top left hand, we have a big flank attack coming in here as well.
Does Reynor have anything protecting this base? Nope, this is very, very exposed. There's an Evo Chamber that's gonna buy some time in a weird way. It's kind of a buffer. More Banelings. This is Reynor in a nutshell, guys. This is why this young Italian is so damn fun to watch. And Neeb not paying attention, losing Eye Templar, losing his Immortal as well. I don't like this fight for Neeb. Where's the Prism?
No, and it's not gonna be an overwhelming rout from the Zerg player, but it just trades really well. It got the Immortal, it got some Templar, forced some mistakes. Neeb's not out of it yet, but he's getting picked apart here a little bit. The good news for him is he's up to 4 bases, and he still has 72 workers. So Neeb has found the E key on his keyboard and has been slamming it all game long. And the concern here is, again, we have a Spire coming up in a Hive, so it's going to be that Broodlord tech. But up until then, it's just Hydraling Baneling with not overly impressive upgrades.
The Oracle gets picked off as well, and that's very painful, because once again, Neeb already has a hard time keeping track of this army of Reynor that's bouncing from left to right. Reynor gets an Archon. What does Neeb have there? Okay, Neeb left an Archon on the right side. I really like that, because these Banelings have already been annoying, but 2 Banelings will still get in, and will connect with 4 probes, which is pretty decent.
Not bad. It's just amazing that he keeps doing that, I think, is the really impressive part. Now, Reynor's trying to take a 5th base here to the left and just below that 3rd base, if you want to call it that. There's kind of Zealots running everywhere. They're getting picked up.
Yeah. They're not very effective. Now, if Neeb can, of course, go up to 4 or 5 bases and get his own super high-tech units out as he's dropping a fleet beacon, that's not too bad. But if I'm Neeb, I'd be a little bit careful.
Jeez.
Neeb has thrown away so many Zealots. If you look at his army is actually not that big. I mean, it's just 69 army supply, 3 Immortals, 5 Archons. Now he's truly relying on those shield batteries, cannons, and of course, Storm.
He is getting the part of the army that you want, though, right? Like, his Immortal count's not super high, like you said, but we are approaching the Broodlord tech, so it's actually kind of good that it's not too terribly high, I suppose. Getting a lot of Archons, and that fleet beacon timing is really good. So I feel like as long as he holds on and we don't see another 20-ish probes just kind of freely die, he should be in a good spot.
But you can see how quick Reynor is this game, right, with his Broodlord. Now, of course, the last... Man, this was not a beautiful game for Phoenixes, was it?
No.
I know it's not that important anymore, but it's just painful to watch. This is Reynor as well, attacking multiple locations at once. Banelings again, connecting with a lot of probes. 24 going down.
26 die. Now, the Zealots will clean up those Hydras, but on the left side, he also took some damage there as well. And the supply is now pretty heavily in favor of Reynor. It's not so much in the army. That's not where the separation is. It's the 90 drones to the 55. Now, 90, I would say, is actually
in the main? Can we
on
take
the
a look?
too high of a side.
Reynor main base, I had the feeling that there was some stuff happening there, but
There's always stuff happening in a Zerg base. They're dancing, they're jiggling, they're making some upgrades here.
There was something, maybe a couple of Zealots somehow ended up there.
2 more Stargates, by the way. That's 4. It's a lot.
Yes, he doesn't have the money for that at this point, I think. This is a good surround by Reynor as well. Just jumps on these Immortals and the Archons, man. Reynor is playing a phenomenal game, and Neeb is not keeping up with the young Italian at this point.
Nope, and now a wave of Banelings behind that could threaten the Zealots that are giving pursuit. Hydra's going to back up here. He goes down below the ramp. There has been multiple prong attacks, so if you're seeing some of these kind of mistakes, it's not like Neeb's completely asleep at the wheel. He's literally microing and fighting on two fronts. Yes. It's just that Reynor is over-executing. He's doing the better job of controlling. And this whole game, for the most part, has taken place on Neeb's half of the map, by the way. So that's, again, where those forced errors are that much more critical.
Yep. A lot of the European players have said that Reynor is pretty much the most annoying opponent in the European scene. And it doesn't mean that he's better than Zero or something like that, but he's just incredibly annoying to play against, because he's always there with his Zerglings, with his Banelings, picking up units one by one, going for run-bys non-stop. And that makes him, in my eyes, one of the most fun players out there to watch right now. I mean, how can you not love this kid? Look how cool this is and how smooth he's playing up to this point.
I feel like for the first time, Neeb has finally made the force that can actually hold off those two fronts. And here come the Broodlords, but there's already Tempest out. I think I saw 2 or 3 out, and there's going to be 3 more to join him in a second.
The one thing that I'm worried about for Neeb, though, is that if Reynor frees up some supply, Reynor can immediately queue up, let's say, 18 Corruptors at one point, even though he's a little low on gas at this point when he just made all these Banelings. And I think that Neeb's going to have a hard time protecting all these units. But we'll see. There's still Storm, and with Storm and Tempest, obviously Neeb still has a very good fighting shot in this game.
Neeb's got a few of his Tempest over here, and that's not where the Broodlords are. And if he loses the space, I feel like it just becomes that mathematical equation where it just becomes so hard for him to get back into this anyways. And now that Nexus is all but forfeit. It should die to the concave of Hydras. Here come the Tempest. The army composition for Neeb is very strong, but he's behind in supply, and he's getting pulled apart here. If he can't turn this around and get offensive, he will just simply get outlasted.
Yep, Tempest obviously are going to do very well against those Broodlords, but the Archons on the left side, tiny bit in trouble. Another Archon goes down. There's very little on the ground now to protect those Tempests, but of course, there are still some Storms available.
And these units, I mean, it's not even that they're going to trade themselves out, it's that the trade is ineffective for Neeb. He's down to 120 supply, and it's falling. The Broodlords are going to sacrifice themselves. There's no running from this, but they kill most of the Templar, and now the Hydra step forward. Again, they're all going to die, but everything they bring down with them is such a huge cost to Neeb, who is just now remaking that right side base. And meanwhile, Reynor still, again, floating 85 drones. He's building a bank. He's able to stay maxed out. He is pummeling Neeb. He needs to turn this around with some form of harass. But where can he find it?
Yep, every time that Neeb is even thinking about attacking, he's losing more and more probes on his side of the map. There is no Storm available at this point, and Hydra's on creep against the Protoss army without Storm. They are phenomenal. That's pretty much the best unit you can dream of. And you can see these Hydras are ripping through this Protoss army.
Absolutely masterful play from our young 16-year-old Italian as he just destroys Neeb there. And it wasn't with one big timing attack that Neeb didn't see. It wasn't with some weird tech that he wasn't prepared with. It was immaculate micro, huge multi-prong attacks, and just out executing. He never looked and saw 5 Banelings detonating on a rock or something silly like that. They were almost always getting probes or zealots in the right trade. Good concaves on the Hydra, etc., etc. This kid has got talent.
Yeah, this kid is something special. Reynor played an awesome game that just made it so freaking hard for Neeb to figure out where those attacks were coming from. Of course, Neeb losing that Oracle that was just idling in the middle of the map.
The Styx Phoenix.
Yeah, that's something that we normally be like, that's, you know, that's a little bit sloppy to lose an Oracle. But against this playstyle, it's more than sloppy. It's incredibly painful because you need to keep track of that Hydra Ling Bane army if you want to be in proper positions to deal with it. Neeb had the units to deal with it, and he had some static defenses, but you need to be able to keep track of the movement.
Now, both these guys have sparred and trained in Korea a lot, so what I'm about to say is not like some big news flash to Neeb, but I will say one of Neeb's strengths I find is that he does adjust in the series pretty immediately. He's a lot like Cyril in that way, where if something seemed to work against him, he usually does a pretty good job of plugging that hole. And the good news for him is Reynor, again, didn't do something like completely out of the blue that just won cheaply. He did good harass stuff, and if Neeb can adjust to that, he can have a tighter game number 2.
Yeah. If I know Neeb, though, if I know almost any Protoss, I would say that if they look at that previous point, they don't even worry about that Hydro-Link Bane phase. Neeb is going to be like, I lost that game when I lost my Phoenixes. He's like, I had a terrible opening. Because, of course, we try to analyze everything for you guys. But if we really want to be straight to the point, you could say Neeb completely filled with his Phoenix opening. And that is what put him really far behind. That attack that you were questioning of Reynor, you were spot on. That was absolutely unnecessary. And I think that's why Reynor made it a little closer than it should have been. But that doesn't change the fact that Neeb had a very rough start. And if Neeb gets a much better start, there is a good chance this entire Hydro-Link Bane phase looks completely different.
Well, to use one of, I think, your most famous words, it was disastrous. I mean, 6 Phoenix to die for literally, I think it was 6 drones and maybe a queen or something like that is absolutely nothing at all. There's so much those Phoenix are supposed to do for you that they just simply weren't able to do. So I do have to think that as far as losses go, the fact that it was kind of close despite that opening and that it was just such a traditional PVZ, Neeb's got to feel pretty okay. If he loses this next one and then is put on match point, of course, that's a terrible place to be. But for right now, the series is young, a lot like that young guy right there. Well, and that young guy too, just not as young, I suppose, as we head towards Fracture, a smaller map.
On the left top side of Fracture, we're looking at the main base of the young Italian. He needs to win this entire tournament if he wants to go to the global finals. He's up 1-0. It's Reynor.
Pretty exciting times we live in with this young talent coming up and making waves. And speaking of talent, the bottom right-hand side from America, it's the Red Protoss, Neeb. Representing Ting, of course. His tried and true sponsor for a while now.
Trying to go full NA as well. Why not? Ooh, look at Reynor. Gas pool before hedge. Now, I'm just a casual ladder guy, okay, Jeff?
Okay, tell me.
But if I scout this, all alarm bells go off, and I will not expand. I'm going to drop a defensive force. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm getting all in. Now, of course, on this level, that's not necessarily true. Also, Neeb sent out his probe very early. You already said this is a very small map.
Yep.
So this could be just to annoy Reynor and just to block the hatch. And Reynor's like, if you do that, I'll just take the pool and gas a little bit sooner. But if you are Neeb, at this point, you have to be very careful because a lot of all-ins could hit you very quick and very hard, especially because this map is so small.
Right? Just a few number of roaches turn into Ravagers, or even just the roaches themselves can pose a threat. We're going to kind of keep our eye. So there's some lings popping out.
Are there 2 holes on the wall? Is on the top side as well? What?
There might be.
That's... Why? What? I'm so
I
confused.
guess we'll have to wait and see for the Zerg player to show us. Could very well be the case.
Like, this map is actually very easy to wall up. This is the easiest map to wall up. But yeah, I think he has 2 holes. I know, we'll see. We'll keep a close eye on it. Now, once again, we're going to keep a close eye on that production tab of Reynor because this is a very small map. You know, Jeff, you said something before this game started that you really feel that Neeb is obviously has grown as a player and is really good at analyzing his opponents and growing in a series. I totally agree with you. But to play devil's advocate a tiny bit, historically, Neeb is also a player that can truly fall apart in a best of 5, right? Sometimes if game 1 is bad and game 2 becomes even rougher, this is a Roddy wall, man. I don't know.
Well, and it's going to be a Robo immediately, by the way, which is in and of itself kind of a weird tech. He's also oversaturating the gas. He does correct that. So Neeb a little bit shaky here right now.
I hate this kind of stuff. Having 2 links in my base early on as a Protoss, like you're forced to pull probes like this. This really messes up your build order. I would say Protoss build orders are maybe not as tight as Terran build orders, but this kind of stuff is very annoying. So he does complete the wall with the Robo on the north side there. So I guess he's okay. And in the end, this turns into a normal wall.
But very strange. The Robo's pretty quick. I don't think it's Archon drop. Because the death gets inside the main base, but it misfires, so it's actually going to have to just settle for scouting.
Doesn't get anything. I mean, fires at 2 different drones.
No probes were lost, ultimately, by the way, by the Lings.
No, that's nice, but mining time has been lost.
Okay.
This is a good map to maybe just make 2 Immortals and a Prism, or even a single Immortal and a Prism, and run to the other side of the map with a couple of gateway units.
Isn't it?
Reasonable
no, I guess not.
Nothing crazy.
Just a meager 10.
I think he was forced
to.
He was forced to make those links because of the adapts, right? And if Neeb would say, what? That's very no! Oh my goodness!
What is going on?
But now there is not enough DPS to save this adapt. Okay, the Immortal does spawn in time. Otherwise, that would have been very painful. But losing a sentry
was. I mean, I'm a little bit stunned. That's the kind of mistake that does not get you to the round of 16, and very well could stop him from getting to the round of 8. Now, Roachborn's going to go down here. And behind this, is there a lair? I did not see the lair in production, but I was mostly just staring blankly with my jaw on the floor. Okay, so no.
Not yet. I think that Neeb is, Reynor is obviously a tiny bit concerned about what he's scouting, because this is not a very common opening, guys.
Look at this.
How often do you see Robo into just a couple of gateways?
Forge, 2 gateways? Like, what does the Forge do here?
+1.
Yeah, you start +1, but it like the mega fast Robo, is he just going to do a 2-base Sentry Immortal timing attack?
Soul Train. I mean, he's getting additional sentries,
which makes a small map, I guess.
Yeah, which makes losing those sentries earlier even more painful. But one of the main reasons, if you guys haven't watched StarCraft that round, is just to be, of course, debuilt in the early years. The main reason this is not that popular anymore is the Ravager. Cross bow is absolutely fantastic against force fields. Yep, and obviously dropping those cross balls in the middle of a pack of sentries is amazing as well. I don't know,
man. He might get another sentry. And he does. 2 sentries for about 6 lings. It looks like he's going to take a third off of this, and it's just some kind of different opening here. There is a couple ramps leading into the natural from the third. Sorry, guys, there's a little bit of stuttering because I'm actually a little bit dumbfounded.
I'm surprised that Neeb is moving out, by the way.
Doesn't have a warp prism.
He's got 2 sentries. Like, he really doesn't have the amount of force. I think he's hoping that Reynor just made no units at all, but Reynor has made a couple of units already. And if Reynor can just dive on these sentries, he's picking off 2 more sentries.
He has to recall back or get out now.
Just run away, Then it's okay.
God, I mean, he pushed back the creep. Dangerous.
Push back the creep. Maybe he felt that Reynor obviously sacrificed a couple of Zerglings to pick up the sentries, that he was able to make that play.
Oh, Dark Shrine behind that. I always like that, Kim. That makes sense to me.
That always makes sense to you, doesn't it,
It always makes sense to me. Never play a game without a Dark Shrine, is what my grandpappy always told me. It's going to be a little bit of a later lair. Both these players, again, playing the map very much so. It's just such a small map that any kind of little aggression like that, like Roddy said, if you just didn't make units, you can actually just die right then and there.
There's no wall off. Couple of Lings are going to try to run into the main base.
Oh my
Neeb
God.
against Reynor. You simply cannot have an open natural. You cannot do that. Lings will always run in. Now, hopefully for Neeb, he doesn't end up losing too much here, but I don't know if those 2 Zealots are going to be enough here.
Should be okay.
5 probes, though.
5 probes have died, and they're going to run and get some more damage in as well. And Reynor's so good about these run-ins. And you said this is like a minor comment, but it's a big deal to re-emphasize for our viewers. Reynor against Neeb. Reynor's the run by king. You cannot do it. You can't just let it happen. You have to be like doubly conscious of it.
Exactly. There always needs to be a Zealot or an Adept on hold position, as our observer is showing us that the Observer went down. Meta play.
I love it. Now, the Dark Templar are going to get warped in. These are going to be Archons almost assuredly. Okay, never mind. They're going to walk across the map. 5 Dark Templar, by the way. And there is detection at least...
Yeah, there's an overseer because the Observer got sniped. So.
The third, there it is. It's coming out on the map.
Not too many Spore Crawlers.
I mean, if it misses this...
Yeah, it could be a Hail Mary play.
If it misses this, then all of a sudden you've got 4 Dark Templar on your 2 bases, and that's a lot of trouble.
I mean, Reynor, that Zealot has no HP, by the way. That Zealot's going to get picked off quite quickly. Neeb is going to re-wall, so just in time. Now the DTs are going to reveal itself, so if I'm Reynor, I turn around and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, I need detection at home. Oh my God, the lair. The lair.
There is no detection at the 3rd base. The DT's already starting to cleave its way through 5 drones. He's actually targeting the lair inside the main. And if he kills that, it's the base dead, but also the tech halted. And it absolutely will die. Nothing should stop this from happening. Meanwhile, the attack over at the 3rd for our Protoss.
Do you recall? Yes, I think that's a very smart play by Neeb.
Why not? He repelled the attack at the 3rd, and his composition's really strong. He's down in supply. A lot of that's workers. It's only 10 army supply, but I gotta say Neeb's position is very strong here.
That was a crazy move. Not a move you see very often at this level, where you just warp in 4 Dark Templars at home, run them to the other side of the map, and snipe a lair.
It's like a casual lair snipe. Just walk in and kill the main building, no big deal.
Not very common, guys, but this is Fracture. The map is a little different. The openings have been a little bit different.
Yeah.
I like it, and that's a good move by Neeb. I still feel Neeb needs a tiny bit more, but his army is starting to become very, very scary, though.
Another flank in the natural. And it's a big one. Roach is going to come in here. Now, the nice thing about the DT tech is you can, of course, just warp in DTs to stop this, but there's not a lot of saturation in the 3rd. Neeb wants to end the game. He's down 40 supply, but he's got a huge army.
Yep.
He's going to have the charge jump on top of this. There's not a lot of insulation between the Ravagers and the rest of this. Neeb is a little bit spread out, but he's now getting on top of that force there.
Neeb has so many Archons, though. I have a hard time believing that these Archons are all going to go down against just a couple Roaches and Ravagers. Reynor did quite a bit of damage on the other side of the map, but is he ever going to be able to clean up this massive Protoss army?
He's holding behind that mineral line, trying to take the right angles. The Archon's having a tough time getting on top of it, trying to land the corrosive files. He's not really finding the connections. Neeb not giving it to him, a hot pick up there to get the Archon back. But their shields are quite low. Roach is going to come in here now, and this hatchery will die, but the army's whittled down just a little bit.
A couple of drones are enough. A couple of drones are going to help out against the Immortals, obviously. They can maybe activate the barriers as well. Good micro by Neeb, but the Archons are all very low on HP.
He's going to try. He goes for the other Warp Prism. He does get that one. This one still remains active, but the Force is cleaned up. Supplies very close, though. Only 10 workers ahead. Army supply really close, but one Immortal does get actually saved by the Warp Prism. He's going to push it back. There's DTs mixed in here. There's no detection.
There's no HP on that army. Look at those 2 Immortals and that Archon. There's like 12 HP combined on all 3 units.
The Warp Prism just scoots out of the way and is going to stay alive. Zealots, hey, they say hi, and the Immortals low in health, but they pack a punch.
That one Dark Templar is doing serious work. A couple of Hydras above as well. There's still no detection here.
There's no detection.
The DTs are doing so much work.
Still juking and jiving with this Warp Prism. It stays alive. The DTs carrying the weight of Protoss on their shoulders. 12 drones have died.
No overseers. There's no detection.
He's now up in probes. Army supply still in favor of Reynor, but it's just a depleting force. He has no detection.
He has no detection. That Spore Crawler is probably going to get picked off as well. He lost the lair again because the lair was in the natural. He can make an overseer.
Oh my God.
He can't make an overseer.
And he can't see him. That's going to be it. Well, okay, actually, if you don't kill the Spore Crawler there, you're not going to get it. He gets the last Warp Prism. This game has gotten so scrappy, but it's down to 13 drones.
That lair just finished up, but he has no more money to really make overseers to begin with.
Too, though.
He can't even clean up these DTs and the Zealots. He's making a couple of links and Hydras, but it's not enough.
Okay, we're all tied up. Neeb versus Reynor. It's living up to the expectation. Not the cleanest of games.
Wow.
There were some mistakes, but Neeb made the choice. Says, hey, man, we're playing on Fracture, and if you aren't going to get it done with your army, I will. He goes across the map, down in supply in every way, but able to take it in a... That was like a 5-minute fight, Rod. You don't have those in StarCraft 2 very often.
And you don't see these kind of builds very often either, where Neeb just warps in Dark Templars on his side of the map, casually walks them to the left top side of the map, snipes the lair, has a DT in a different base as well. Those were some weird, crazy fights. I do want to compliment Reynor as well for that almost hold, because I looked at that army of Archons and Immortals and I'm like, yeah, there's no way. But he did a phenomenal job in tucking those Ravages behind that mineral line, made it almost impossible for the Archons and Immortals to really get on top of those 6-7 Ravages.
Yes.
That was a phenomenal effort, even if it wasn't good enough there, because Neeb did a great job in sniping the Overseers over and over again. That was really cool to watch.
And killing the unassuming lair at the natural, it was like, yeah, you're going to use it as a bullet shield of sorts, but if you do that, and then he loses it, he has no access to additional Overseers, which he did not make an overabundance of, right? He always had, I think, one at a time, and when they got picked off, it just all of a sudden became apparent to him that he doesn't have detection. Both these players putting on quite the show for us. I hope you guys are entertained and having a good time. Because this has been a great day number 2, and we've got actually another fantastic day tomorrow as well. There's the beautiful Montrealians. I think they're called Montrealians, Kevin. I don't know.
I don't know either. You've made up a lot of words today, so that could be another one.
I make up a lot of stuff, Kevin.
And I like it, Jeff. Really gets me going at the end of the day. I'm excited to see where Game 3 is going to take us. The map is going to be played on Acid Plant. Now, obviously, that's a pretty straightforward, fair map, I would say, in this matchup. Both players have an insane amount of experience on it. I think all pros love Acid Plant. It's a good one. I feel game number 1, obviously, Neeb was a little bit out of it. Losing those Phoenixes put him pretty far behind. Game 2, it was weird. It was different, but it definitely was very fun.
And still some of those mistakes from Neeb, which, by the way, it's kind of funny because I think that's always been a pretty big part. I think back to even 2017, it's not like Neeb was this machine that never made mistakes. It's just that he was so much better pretty much in every stat category than everybody else. He would have some sloppy games, he'd have some weird games, but he would probably beat you in the series. We've just been a little bit spoiled this year because you watch Cyril play, and a mistake is so rare that you notice it because it almost never happens.
I saw Cyril play today and I was like, wow.
Bailey connect with more than 2 lanes?
Wow. It's like, oh my goodness, he's in trouble, he's making mistakes. Wow, those drones, after they were split against the Bailings, they did not go back to mining immediately. I was like, he's off his game now. Of course, in the end, he did win. No, you're right, though. Like, what we've been witnessing over the last few months has been crazy, but Neeb has shown us some crazy stuff as well, and obviously just comes up that great run in the GSL where these two, they did run into each other. But once again, I really felt that was a Reynor that was a little bit upset, a Reynor that wasn't totally there, and you can't blame him. He's such a young player. He was inches away from potentially getting the biggest upset of the year if he would have 2-0'd Maru.
That'd be amazing.
In the GSL round of 16. So obviously it's hard to recollect yourself after that and staying calm and composed. But this tournament, Reynor's here to battle. And so far he's been having a great run in this tourney, but this man is going to try to stop him.
And they're taking a look at Reynor's computer right now. A loss screen popped up after that last game, and he was asking the admins what the heck that was. So they're going to kind of try to explain to him what it's like to lose a game of StarCraft. But you know, the other thing's amazing about him too is that it's how fast, and like you were saying earlier, how immediately he became good. Because it's not like Reynor's like, I picked up StarCraft when I turned 16. No, he's been playing for a couple of years. He hasn't been old enough to compete in the WCS, but he's always been pretty good. But it's like when he hit 16, he accelerated. He's like, oh, I can compete now? Well, it turns out I'm a top-tier world-class player. Hey, there you go.
Yeah, we've asked him about that a little bit, and Reynor said, like, yeah, I always felt I was good. Obviously, when I hit Grandmaster League, I thought it was cool, and then I just thought that this was my level for a while. He's like, but then I kept playing, and suddenly I reached 7K MMR, and I was like, I'm really good at that. He's like, yeah.
Isn't it nice when you kind of just ease into discovering you're an amazing talent?
I know, right? All right, asset plan. Here we go, guys. For game 3 between these two awesome StarCraft 2 players. In the right bottom side, the main base of the 16-year-old Italian stallion. It's Reynor.
And his opponent in the top left-hand side, the American Protoss, it's Neeb. A look of determination on his face. He knows he's in a battle for his life. This is a tough one. In the round of 16, you could have got some what you might call softer matchups, but this one is the marquee one for a reason. And it's so cool that it's at the bottom of the bracket too, right? Like either of these players could be your finalists, but here they are colliding, and we get to enjoy this battle.
I mean, the winner of this series goes up against Utermo in the quarterfinals.
Which is another amazing
That is just an amazing match tomorrow. Of course, guys, tomorrow we're going to play the entire tournament. We're going to play all 4 quarterfinals, the 2 semis, and we're going to end it with the final. So 7 series of StarCraft 2 tomorrow. Very, very excited for it. We're going to have a lot of fun.
And it's an interesting time, too, because after that, there'll be, you know, a lot of online stuff in preparation for BlizzCon, basically, the big tournament at the end of the year.
After tomorrow, we know our top 8 when it comes to the WCS circuit for BlizzCon.
It's going to be the big wind-up for the huge finish. It's been an amazing year of StarCraft, and if you're listening to this, you were a part of it, so thank you very much. One probe does die here, the scouting probe, which is a little bit weird because there's no Zerglings out. It happens.
I think he tried to probably occupy the mineral patch, and then maybe wasn't paying attention.
You feel crummy about it. Come on.
Well, look at Reynor going 2 hatcheries very, very quickly. Now he's already mining some gas, so it's not super crazy, but he slowed down on the gas mining. He's like, you know what? I really don't need Zergling speed that quick. I picked off your probe. I am able to get this hatch down in a position that I want to get it down. And that adept that you're going to send to the other side of the map, I'm sure I can deal with it with just a couple slow Zerglings and a queen as well.
Pretty cool by Neeb, by the way, just to go back to that last game one more time, to not just autopilot the meta and be like, well, I don't care if it's Fracture, I'm going to open Stargate, I'm going to go Phoenix or Oracle. Both players very aware of the size of the map and the play style of the map, even if Fracture is one of the more rare maps to play on. And I did sense a little bit of freestyling happening there. They played to the map, and for Neeb, it worked out really well, but only just so. Now, on this map, as Rotterdam was saying, it's a much more common map. It's something we've seen quite a bit of, so you're going to see more of the meta style. I anticipate Hydraling, Baneling, perhaps, from Reynor, but certainly that Stargate, at least from Neeb, and we'll see where that forks off to after that.
I'm curious to see if we're going to see more double Stargate coming out of Neeb. Now, obviously, he's one of the Protosses that has been using it quite a bit over the last few months, but after that first game, I'd be nervous, man. If it's just not your day with the Phoenixes, then maybe you should just let it go, right? Because Cerulean Fall did not look pretty. I think he's going to let this Shade finish up. No.
Not in that spot, I guess.
If he would have tucked himself in between the mineral patches, I wouldn't have hated it. But obviously, these adepts are still being effective. They're pushing back the creep. This time he is committing. Well, he's just eating a bunch of shots, I guess. Then.
Yeah, it's okay, though, I suppose.
I'm surprised that he walked that far forward if he didn't want to let the Shade finish up.
It was a little bit weird. But we're getting weird out of Neeb right now. Don't let it finish now. Yeah, exactly when we're like, he won't let it, and then it does, but not this time. Now, it is an Oracle behind that, and as Roddy said, let's go ahead and see where this goes from here. It's going to be a Robo.
Perhaps a little terrified after that first double Stargate game where just things did not go well at all. Now, this could obviously lead into the Archon drop that we've seen so many times. Every now and then, this could turn into a very crazy attack, but it doesn't really seem to set up for it for Neeb as he's taking additional gases. He's getting plenty of probes. So this really seems like a regular opening where he's probably going to harass with a Warp Prism and 2 Archons after the Oracle Phoenix phase is done.
Only gets the 1 drone, forces the half-hearted construction of a Spore Crawler there to save the life of that drone. Not a big deal, but okay.
Yeah.
If the Queens weren't there, it would have been a lot worse, but nice counterplay by Reynor.
I think these days as a Protoss, if you open up Oracle and you can get any drone, you're like, hey, that's nice, because there are plenty of games where you don't get that drone.
It's at least something.
Yep. It's always better than nothing, and of course, don't take too much damage. He's gonna try one more time, but this Oracle really doesn't have a lot of health, but it does survive, but I don't think he got a single kill there, right?
Yep. Every time that happens, by the way, I look at it and I go, how? Because when I know we say this every time, but when I play, Oracle's dead, Phoenix dies, and I'm just like, well, okay. Not sure how they do it. It is going to be the Temple Archive, so we'll be that Archon drop behind this, and that is, again, one of the more common things you'll see. Lings getting a little bit overambitious, jumping on top of those Adepts, find themselves outgunned pretty quickly.
Yeah. I think Reynor's goal there was to pick up the probe that was being sent out to produce that additional nexus, but instead it ran into those Adepts, and then for a split second, Reynor thought, maybe I can grab the Adepts, but then he realized that that's a fight he could not take. Now, the Scout obviously is good in the main base, but I don't think Reynor is shocked by anything he sees here. He knows there are a couple extra gateways on the way. He knows there's the weapons. Whoa, I might want to cancel that. He's going to take a lot of damage.
Yeah, he's going to at least have to relocate the Warp Prism, but this is already good. Because a big part of the reason why the drop either, retreats or fails outright is the health of the Warp Prism.
Now, Neeb is going to have to be very, very careful. And in the early days, Neeb was a little known to lose his Warp Prisms as well. Oh my goodness, there's so many Queens in Neeb. What are you doing?
He's going to have to get out. I mean, the Warp Prism's so low, there's no way he continues with it anyways. And to finish your point, it was kind of funny, because I remember back in the day when it was all about Warp Prism harass, sometimes they would even make a second Warp Prism and just go back at it with another 2 Archons. He'd lose the first 2.
He's going to pick off a couple of Creep Tumors here. This is obviously not a fight he could take. Now, Neeb is
still here.
He's going to try his luck in the main base. He's regenerating shields now, so I don't hate it that much. I hated it more before when he had 0 shield. Oh my goodness.
You hate it yet, Kevin?
I hate it a lot. He could recall.
He's going to have to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're... Oh, just one gets back, the other one dies. I'm telling you, I hated it.
Yeah, you're right. I just had faith. Now the Observer's gonna get picked up as well. It's really not Neeb's series so far. I know it's just 1-1, guys. I know it's just tied up. And you could say there is nothing ultra bad yet this game, but losing an Archon, losing the Prism, those are things that are actually massive in this matchup.
Very little harass.
Yeah, they dictate the tempo. They also allow Zerg to move out or not. And if Protoss loses that opportunity to keep Zerg pinned on their side of the map, the Zerg attacks become a lot more intimidating. I'm really not feeling it so far for Neeb. He's looking a little bit sloppy and off his game.
I agree. 2 Immortals at a time now. That's a really quick Infestation Pit and Spire. So he's got this 4th base. He says, if you can't harass me, you're going to spend all your money saturating and defending your 3rd. And by the time you find out that I'm at Hive and probably approaching Broodlords...
Did he get a High Templar there? Can we take a look at the units lost real quick? No High Templar, because that's very weird. Why is there a simple High Templar standing there?
It's the General.
Now he's going to lose it. I mean, that's a really expensive loss, Neeb. Oh my goodness, of course he's picking off a couple of Roaches, but guys, Roaches cost nothing. High Templars are very expensive.
I think they're 1,300 gas each. Super expensive. No, they're opportunity loss, though, as you said. I mean, the Storm being researched right now, if that Templar is allowed to live up until that Storm upgrade completes, you're talking probably 2 Storms on that Templar.
Yeah, but you just don't warp in High Templars one at a time, especially if you don't have Storm yet. If it's 10 seconds away from finishing up, I can live with it. But in general, you warp in High Templars 2, 4, or nothing, right? Or 6 if you really have a lot of gas.
Kevin, I'm looking at this timing, man. I mean, he doesn't have Blink. He's got the 1 Stargate, but none additional. That Oracle doesn't die, but it's certainly not sniffing out the fact that there's a very fast Hive behind this. Now, you got to keep in mind for the Protoss player, it could be Lurkers. Oh, actually, does see the Hive?
No. He hasn't seen anything in forever.
It could be Lurkers. It could be Vipers. It's, of course, the less common. Sometimes we see Infestors, especially if your name's Scarlet. but he has no idea. And it's very specific. You don't naturally counter Broodlords. You need very specific units.
You know what I love here from Reynor is that Reynor is pretending that he's strong. He's kind of flexing his muscles. He's going to be able to find an Immortal on the left side as well.
What is that from Neeb?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. If there's 2-3 Zealots there, obviously he's fine, right? He can take that fight, but an Immortal by itself, I just love that Reynor is pretending that he's strong, pretending that he wants to fight.
Yeah.
But of course he doesn't want to fight, guys. He's buying time for his great Aspire, but you don't want to make it easy on your opponent to figure that out. You don't want to sit on your side of the map like, no, let them think that it could be still Hydra Link Banalin or Hydra Roach Lurker. It's none of those things, but Reynor is just making it hard for Neeb to figure out what it actually is.
8 Corruptors queued up. Greater Spire about to finish. Neeb still has no idea. This Warp Prism on the lower left-hand side of the map, it doesn't know this, but it's got the most important job in the entire game. The Zealot's going to show up. This is going to be the first tip-off, okay? He sees Spine Crawlers. Now, that doesn't necessarily scream Broodlords, but it needs to start the juices flowing, and the Warp Prism pauses just before getting to the natural. Now, the Corruptors have to tip this off. He has to say, whoa, and there's that Fleet Beacon immediately going down. And I will say, by the way,
that's way too late.
It did it actually at the Spine Crawlers. So Neeb, very smart, but it might be too late, as Roddy says.
It's also, I mean, something I say very often, if things are too good to be true, they usually are. And if it's that easy to survive against Hydra Roach, you know something else is happening, right? Because there are no lurkers running in from every angle. You're just sitting there casually. You know your opponent is transitioning already. I mean, Neeb is throwing up extra Stargaze, the Fleet Beacon.
There's Broodlords behind this.
He needs some miraculous moves here. He needs to outmaneuver the army of Reynor. That's his only shot.
He has to kill this base and recall back. He actually can't get more. The Broodlords are out on the map.
Well,
so he gets a good drone destruction there. He's going to kill this base. Sure, that's fine. He has not... Yeah, there's the recall. But he's taking so much damage back at home. There's the recall on top of that. He will save the third base. The natural is in shambles, and he did lose the Cybernetic Core, which he's not remaking just yet. He kills that base, but loses the Zealots he left behind. Nice storm there.
Yeah, I love that storm. Kind of in front of the army as well, so the entire army ran through it. If I'm Reynor here, I go for the Fleet Beacon. I would ignore that Robo.
Yeah.
That Robo is really not that important. The Fleet Beacon is a really juicy target there. Instead, now he's going to settle for some workers. I think Reynor could have gotten a little more out of this hit squad.
The space that has been created is massive. Look at that floating blob of blue. Not that one, Observer, that one. It's like a bunch of Broodlords making their way over here with Queens to anchor them.
In Neeb's defense, though, I mean, with Storm and 3-4 Tempest, do you believe? I mean, I don't like it.
Do you believe, Roddy?
I really don't like it for Neeb, but maybe in a weird way, even though these Broodlords
so many Broodlings.
Very, very hard. I love that Reynor is bringing the Queens as well, that sure, maybe these Broodlords eventually go down against the Tempest, but not before those Broodlords are going to do some very serious work to this ground army.
Here we go. He's going to try to fight that left flank. Reynor's going to pull back everything at the base of his Storm's going to coat the Broodlords. The Tempest trying to focus us down. Queens healing as best they can, but the army of Neeb is getting depleted. He's down in supply, and now it becomes a problem. It can't even take on the Hydras and Roaches, and if he does, what's left behind this? It's just the Immortals. The Tempests are now getting shot down. There's no more Storm, and I don't think he's got what it takes. Reynor is going to jump on top ahead here, 2-1 in this best of 5.
Reynor really clumped up his units a lot there in the end. I got a little bit scared for the young Italian because I don't think that was the most beautiful spread on the Broodlords and the Hydras, but maybe he just felt, you know, time is on the essence here. I don't want to wait any longer. I don't want to go against the Protoss with 5 or 6 Storms and 5 or 6 Tempests. Let's just go right now. Even if this is not the prettiest fight, it's the fight that I want, and it's the fight that's going to win me the game. I want to compliment Reynor for all the things he did right, but it's also important to tell the other side of this best of 5, and that is that Neeb is just not really looking on point so far.
Not so far. So we're going to head into a quick little break here. Hopefully both these players can take their breath as we go into the last stages, of this best of 5. We'll be right back in a couple of minutes. And welcome back to the final match of day number 2 here at WCS Montreal. Reynor is up 2-1 against Neeb, the terror from 2017, trying to end the year of WCS on a high note. He'll be going to BlizzCon, so we'll get to see him play there as well, but he'd love to nab a few more victories here. And in order to do it, he's got to win 2 in a row against this young guy on the lower left-hand side from Italy. It's the Blue Zerg, Reynor.
Reynor has been playing great so far in this series. But of course, there is that other side as well. This man is still your reigning champ of WCS Montreal 2017. Guys, if you want him to come back, you gotta make some noise. For the American, it's Neeb.
And I think it is just simply worth noting, for the purpose of the series, Neeb is just not executing at the level we're used to with him. Obviously, he's had a rough travel schedule. He was just in the GSL semifinals only a few days ago. Lost a tough one to TY, but it made a historic run, amazing performance. And now he's here, and that's the tough life of a pro gamer, especially one like Neeb that competes all around the world in all of the most difficult situations. And he's being asked to do it again here against this guy, Reynor.
And those journeys are tough, man. You saw that kind of with Reynor as well, right? Right after Reynor lost in the GSL, he went home and he had a disappointing showing in Challenger. And a lot of people would say, like, that's not that big of a deal. He made it into Challenger. That's pretty good. But Reynor was better than just a round of 16 Challenger player over the last few months. So you could really see that affected him a little bit.
Yep.
And then 4 or 5 days later, he bounces back, wins a big tournament over at Base Trade, and he felt really good all weekend long here. He was full of smiles. And he said, no worries. I forgot about the losses. He's like, I'm back again, you know. And sometimes you just need it as a player. You need a couple of victories again to feel better. Now in Neeb's defense, I believe he had a very rough journey as well. I think the airline lost his back.
Yeah.
And that's something that's always very stressful as a gamer. I believe that he had a little bit of a headache as well. Maybe just didn't feel 100% today. I don't know what it is, but so far it's kind of shown, because we know how freaking good Neeb can be.
Yep.
And this series, I don't want to take anything away from Reynor, because Reynor's playing really cool and good StarCraft, but Neeb is not playing as we know Neeb can play.
He's not, but I'll tell you what, it's part of the competition. You got to turn it around. These things happen. You can be out of your element, not feel good, and it's rough. We get to see Neeb play so much that we know it's below his level, but he's got to turn it back around. His tournament life is on the line, and we're here on Lost and Found, probably the most common map, I would say, in the current map pool. It's the one these players have played on the longest. Very balanced, good map, and Reynor's gonna dip back into that kind of safe macro play. I do want to say that last game, I loved his decisiveness, right? He picks off the Warp Prism, immediately goes Spire and Infestation Pit into Hive, saying, I don't think you're going to be on my half of the map for a very long time, and if I can pull out these Broodlords, you're in a lot of trouble.
This Adept is not out yet, and this is actually very annoying to deal with. These Lings are going to split off. A couple of them going to go with Nacho. It seems like Neeb is not paying attention. Okay, Neeb is doing a little bit of damage. Wow, with both Adepts, actually. This could get a little bit ugly. I mean, he's doing serious damage in the main base, but it's obviously nice. I'm not sure how well he's handling everything at home. Not bad, actually. I mean, picking up 4 drones, but he did lose 2 Adepts.
Yep. And that is, of course, not great. It's going to be, I think an Oracle came out. Yeah, so it's definitely scouted, obviously, as the lane. Did a little bit of a loop-de-loo around that structure. How many finishes here?
How many Lings does Reynor have out? I mean, Neeb needs to be careful, because obviously Neeb lost 2 Adepts, and it means he has very little firepower at home. I guess 2 Adepts is enough, even without a shield battery.
Yeah. And he is very good about building right behind that, too, if you do show up with anything.
Yeah.
The Oracle comes out here pretty quick, so there's not a Spore Crawler, there's not a huge number of Queens just yet. There's the 2 there to deflect it, though. And Neeb is going to be merciful, I suppose.
He's going to find that one drone that tried to morph into a Spore Crawler. Well, somehow does not get the cancel. I would have canceled that Spore. Like 3 times already. It's double Stargate again, Jeff, for our man Neeb. So Neeb is going to go back to the strategy he used in Game 1. It's a strategy that he's had a lot of success with over the last few months. And he obviously knows how to do it. He just needs to do it a lot better than he did on Cerulean Fall.
And he has that Phoenix looking around for an Overlord. It picked off one in the natural, but it's going to come over here and try to make a grab at the mineral line. And if there's no Spore Crawler, it might not be that bad of a call. In fact, even if there is one, he can get a couple of drones.
Yep, and that's already a lot nicer than we saw, for instance, on Asset Plant as well. Gets 4 drones.
And then he just stops.
Oh
my God.
Oh my goodness. That's a very painful loss. That would have been so amazing to get 4 drones and just get out of there.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And the Oracle represents such an important role in this as well. It's the ongoing scouter. Second Stargate gets scouted as well. So he's going to hide the Phoenix, but it's spotted. It's not hiding anything.
It's a lot more than just a scouter, by the way, Jeff. That Oracle keeps your Nexus safe against Zerglings, because Phoenixes are not good against Zerglings. Now, Neeb can be very, very fortunate that Reynor didn't go for some sort of a weird +1 melee build here. That's not even that weird, actually. If he would have done it without an Oracle, you need to rebuild it immediately, otherwise you simply cannot keep that Nexus alive. Now, Reynor's Lings were a tiny bit out of position, so it's not as bad as it could have been, but once again, these are not mistakes you're allowed to make in this phase of the competition.
Especially since it's not, well, okay-ish. Could have been worse, he says. Anyways, the Oracle didn't die off of like a bad choice to go back and try to grab another drone or something like that. It died because he didn't click far enough out of the base. And those are the kind of mistakes you just don't make at this level. So I feel bad because we are berating this point quite a bit, but it's worth noting. Neeb is that kind of a player. He won 3 WCS championships last year, which is the record, unless, well, Sarah, who's tied it so far, can make a 4th one here.
Now, Neeb is going to go double robo behind this. He's going to go in one more time with the Phoenixes. So far, I don't think he has lost a Phoenix yet.
That's okay.
And that's actually very, well, maybe one here. No, it doesn't. Okay, well done there by Neeb. Did a serious amount of drone damage. 15 drones already this game. Of course, a couple of the Adepts, a couple of the Oracle, but that's still nice economic damage. So besides the Oracle, this really wasn't all that bad.
Especially since it was scouted, by the way. Keep that in mind. Like, immediately the Hydra didn't went down. Immediately Spore Crawlers and additional Queens. So Neeb's able to get that work in despite the fact that it was known. Now, behind this, it's double robo. And he's going to go up to that composition. Oh, geez.
And it went from 0 to 3 Phoenixes down actually very quickly now. And I think he still only killed 15 drones. So basically he has lost, well, maybe he killed 16 now. So he lost 3 Phoenixes for a single drone, which obviously is a shame. You could say the Phoenixes already did their job, but they could have done a better job than they did so far.
Yeah. Still a better spot, though, than he was in. I will say, even with those couple of sloppy misses and you know, damages that should not have happened, and perhaps in a well-rested situation where they wouldn't, it's still better than what it was in game number 1, where he lost all the Phoenix, essentially, except for 1, which is the worst Phoenix to have, for free.
Yeah, that's a very sad Phoenix. Then it's just a scouting
I can pick
Phoenix.
something up.
You know, Jeff,
hold it.
I don't think Neeb is going to do it because almost every single Protoss play here just goes into Twilight and then obviously Storm as well. But I really like, if you have double Robo and you have this amount of map vision.
Robo Bay?
Yeah, I like Robo Bay and I like a couple Colossus. Now, not immediately, obviously. I like it when you get Immortals first. But I really think there is still a place for the Colossus, especially in a game like this with this kind of tempo where you picked off quite a few drones. I understand he's going for Storm and I'm not saying that Colossus is better. I like the Colossus and I do feel it's a little underappreciated in these kind of games.
And if not Colossus, he's the original Disruptor God, by the way, which can be very powerful. Hard to do against Hydraling Baneling. I think that's a big part of the reason why you don't see it as much.
You're going to blow up your own army against Zerglings all the time.
I don't disagree with you, Kevin. I think Colossus would be cool, but I guess Storm is just the tried and true. It transitions into late game a little bit better, so it's kind of where players like to go with it.
Better against Mudas, I guess.
You get Archons as well, so, you know, it's just, yeah, a little bit safer.
Storm on the way, Baneling speed on the way, but if you...
right in front of the Zealot. Didn't see anything over here. Nope. Not still making Banelings.
Now, +1 melee is done for Reynor, but of course the key upgrade I always feel is +2 melee, right? That's when a single Baneling can take out a lot of probes. It's a very, very scary upgrade. Neeb is going to try his luck one more time. Nice micro down that one field. You see how smooth that was, Jeff? Now that gets my Protoss heartbeat a little faster.
Well, I'm just a fan of good series, and Neeb needs to win this one to get us to a game 5, which would be so fun. He's in great position thus far. Now, tech path-wise for our Zerg player, he is getting that 4th base. But behind that, there's no Hive that I can see, no Hive tech. So it's going to be kind of that mid-game big aggression. And that's a canceled 4th if I've ever seen one.
Yeah. Did he cancel it?
Maybe not even cancel, just sniped.
Nope. No cancel there. Now, obviously, that's a tiny bit expensive, but it's not necessarily the end of the world. It will really come down to the big engagement. It will come down to those storms. Can he protect his High Templars? Does he have enough Archons? Can he keep track of this army? As Reynor is already going up to 5 bases, but Reynor also knows that his army is eventually going to run out of steam, so he needs a couple of good fights, and he needs them soon.
Good job spotting the Banelings on the low ground over there, actually. That's a good find, but he's now sandwiched in between the 2 big chunks of this army.
Good scout.
Now, Reynor's got some army kind of flanking to the middle of the map, and jeez.
No cancel. Oh my goodness. Okay, now it's 800 minerals.
Becoming a problem. Yeah.
That's starting to pile up a little bit, you know.
We can forgive the one. The second one, we're like, hey man, maybe next time you make it, take a look over there.
It's painful, and he's already getting the fleet beacon, but to support a fleet beacon, to get units like a Mothership or Tempest, you do really need that 4-base economy, and you can't afford to lose Nexi over and over again. I love that he left a couple of Immortals behind. I'd like to see him tucking back a little bit further. Bailing's gonna crash into these Immortals once the barriers are done. The shield battery is doing a really good job, though, keeping those Immortals alive. Well done there by Neeb.
Nice positioning. Yeah, the Bailings did not get in on the mineral line like they tried to. And so far, Neeb's holding on to this army. Now, the good news for him, again, is just now the Hive gets started. So if there was a greater Spire being morphed behind this, I would think that Reynor had done such a good job winning time. But as it is, unless he gets some damage done, I think Neeb's position's pretty good.
Yep, but it's not over yet. I mean, Neeb is really respecting the potential of that attack on his third base. That fourth base is gonna get killed again. That is number 3, and Bailing's crashing in these mineral lines as well. +2 is done, so that means, bam, 11 probes go down immediately. Yeah, this is getting very, very expensive for Neeb.
Okay, well, this is the 4th attempt at that Nexus.
Neeb, protect it. Well, I mean, obviously it's hard to keep it alive, but if you would have cancelled it the last 3 times, it really wouldn't have been that painful.
That'd be something. And now the Hive is finished. We do have a Mothership coming out, which is quite cool. And just now the Spire started, so timing-wise, not the best for Reynor.
I really like this, actually, because they're using a lot of anti-air, not a single Spore Crawler. Zergling's not going to save the day. He can get a couple of probes here as well, and above all, Neeb is buying a little bit of time for himself. And the time that he's buying also means more HP on that 4th base, which means it's a lot harder for Reynor to pick up. I don't know why you're laughing, Jeff.
Well, it's true, but it's also going to make it worse when it does get picked off, I guess. The Phoenix also don't have a super amazing role at this point in the game, so if they're trading their lives out for some drones, queens, and overlords, that's really good.
All right, we've got carriers on the way, which I find very ambitious with the limited economy that Neeb is working with, but maybe he just really believes in his defensive position at this point, and he just feels that there is no other way for him to win it. He fires up Graviton Catapult as well.
Holy cow.
Reynor is going ham on the Bailings now. He just morphed 43 Bailings. Jeff, Neeb needs some miraculous storms.
Yeah, he cannot be asleep at the wheel like he has been so far. We're going to have this gigantic swing of an army. That's not much Protoss right there. It doesn't feel like it. Here it comes for the sandwich. There's no storms yet. It's getting on top of his army, and it's just Banelings colliding into things, and the Protoss army is in between a rock and a hard spot, but there's a good reinforcement from behind that. Nice force fields blocking off a big chunk of that. The base does die for a 4th time, but Roddy, I mean, it's not good, but I thought it was over. It was looking pretty bad. Those force fields kind of bailed him out.
I'm with you. That looked like it was going to be an absolute massacre, and in the end, Neeb kind of survived. And the most important thing there, I feel, is losing the Nexus is painful. Yes, I know, guys. That's the 4th time. But this was not one of the scenarios where he lost the Nexus and 24 workers. Because that would have been a nail in the coffin, I think. Give him and carriers and Storm, and Jeff, I'm always a believer.
Yeah, it is going to be possible. Neeb's still at 63 workers. And I think the nice thing about these Phoenix constantly harassing that 6 o'clock 5th base is it's never been fully saturated. So it is 5 bases for Reynor, but it could feel like, you know, 5 going on 6 in this overwhelming economy. It's not quite there just yet. We don't have a massive bank on a maxed out Zerg.
How many storms are we looking at this point? I know he just warped in a couple of, these Bailings in the natural. The good warp in there. Could he get a force field perhaps? I don't know if he has one, but now he's just going to go for the additional warp ins. These Lings are feisty though.
Okay, thank you.
Do the Lings have Adrenal glands already? I assume they do, right?
They do. Or they're, yes, they do.
+3 Lings with Adrenal glands. These are Lings you're going to really have to respect, and you're going to have to always be very safe. I would love to see a High Templar on the other side of the wall of his natural. Just that safety High Templar, that if they want to pick off a Zealot, you just drop a massive storm there.
Lings trying to get into the natural again.
That's the one spot where I would love to see High Templar.
Very timely warm.
These Lings are so good. These Lings are so good.
They can actually just bully themselves right past. And he's not paying attention. Banelings showing up at the 3rd. There's Neeb. He does pull at the last second, but these Banelings are so lethal. Still, 19 probes have died. And he's down to 44 workers between these 4 bases.
And that's where it gets really painful. Carriers are amazing, but carriers are units that really rely on upgrades as well. And +1 carriers, yeah, that's something you have to worry about as a Zerg, but I don't find it that intimidating. I don't find it that unkillable.
I like the Archon count. I will say I like the Archon count. If the Corruptors try to jump on top of these carriers, they can get absolutely destroyed by those Archons. And again, with the counterattack, you really have to leave behind cannons or something if you're going to go out against Reynor.
If Neeb wants to leave, he's going to... Oh my goodness.
It just died for free! He was out in the map by itself. It gets picked off. A huge mistake. And now Bailey show up at the 4th base again. Reynor, he's just too young. He's got too much energy.
I really don't think that Neeb can attack. If he attacks, he's going to lose all of his probes. These are +3 links with adrenal glands. A couple of defensive zealots are not going to save the day. And that means that Neeb is very all in. And his tournament life is on the line with this attack.
He's going to push forward here. He's got the storm behind it. But if any Bailey's get on top of that army, it's going to be lights out. The Corruptors do jump on top of it. Archon's a little bit out of position to deal with the Corruptors. One of the carriers does get picked off.
Pretty good storms, though.
He's landing decent storms here. He gets the Bailings at their construction, but they aren't going to do it now. Nice storms there as well. Corruptors target firing the carriers. It's just too much Zerg, I think. Another carrier dies. He's down to just the one. Archon's morphing, but there should be good reinforcements. Nah, Neeb doesn't have what it takes. As Reynor's going to outlast the air army and reinforce, destroy what's left here.
A couple of zealots are going to show up as well.
It's falling in supply. Hang on.
Yeah, to push this army back. Still immortal.
Where's that part of the army?
He just took out 40 drones, Jeff. I mean, Neeb is still in this one. He actually is up in supply. He's up in army supply as well. 2 new carriers show up. I think he's done it. I think Neeb has actually done it, Jeff.
There's some lings behind us, but the 2 carriers don't have much in the way of anything that can threaten them. 4 Immortals joining up with this. It's such a weird attack. He split off his army in half, and I thought it was going to be lights out, but here comes absolutely everything. Reynor pulling the drones, pulling the Hydras. They're getting stopped up. The supply's in Neeb's favor. He's doubling an army. He has done it. The Archon's coming over to make sure the door is slammed, and we're going to game 5. Wow.
You can see Reynor also grabbing his head. He's like, oh my goodness, what just happened? Like, I was winning that game. I was crushing Archon left, right, and center. And then Neeb runs to the other side of the map with a couple carriers. Archons lands a couple of really good storms. And I think the Corruptor count is not that high there either.
Corruptor count wasn't that high. I mean, I have to apologize. It ends up being a massive miscall, but he has 4 Immortals and like 3 Archons fighting a base by itself with the all-in army. Like, if he needed to bunch that all up and just keep it together, but I guess not, as Neeb's able to just win in the end there, but it got a little bit scary for me.
I mean, with the way that he did it, he obviously shut down the economy of Reynor very quickly.
All at once, yeah.
And I think that he was very worried because he knew he was getting heavily outmined at that point. I mean, Reynor only was down, Neeb was down to like 40 probes. That's really nothing in that phase in the game if you're not even maxed
on his
out.
3 oldest bases too, so all those mineral powers were gone.
So I really think that he was just like, every second that goes by, Reynor is gathering way more resources than I am. I need to end this game as quickly as possible.
Oh, what a hype series. We're going to go to game 5 here as both these players digging deep for this one. And Neeb, once again, I know we sound like a little bit of a broken record, but 4 Nexuses were not, well, 3 truly were not canceled. 1 was sniped in a real fight, but the mothership mid-map just not, it's just by itself and dies. Like, that's the kind of stuff when you tune into my stream, you can see happen all the time. But when you watch Neeb in the round of 16, you don't see it.
That's true. If we think back of that previous game, though, if you take a look at it from the other side, do you think that Reynor should have maybe bought some more time for himself? Maybe just avoid that army for a split second. He's got links with +3. If he just rallies everything to the other side of the map, he may end up losing a hatch. He may end up losing 2 hatcheries. But I think he kills everything on the other side of the map very, very quickly. And with the much better economy that he has, I think he can take hatcheries anywhere. I don't think Reynor just had to sit at home and receive that army in the way that he did.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an option. I feel like there's a lot of places we can go with that. Any number of Vipers whatsoever, abducting key parts of that army into the Hydra Ball. Could have won it there as well. Going for Broodlords, maybe not the best call. But either way, we're here. It's game number 5 as the series is tied 2 apiece. And starting on the lower left-hand side, it's our blue Zerg from Italy, Reynor. What a treat to watch this guy compete here at WCS.
And on the right top side, the man that won 3 WCS stops in 2017. Montreal, make some noise for Neeb.
It's a testament to how good Neeb is, that he's made some of these mistakes. What are you chuckling at?
The cheerful. It said, brother, you want to go meltdown tonight? I love you guys. You guys are awesome.
There's a meltdown here?
Yeah, they've got
very cool.
We went there, I think, it was last year as well, and I think the year before. Very fun. A lot of StarCraft fans went there, watched a couple of the games. Really, really good stuff.
Well, very nice. And now what does Neeb do? I have to think, for me, as we are on Blue Shift, this is still a normal-ish map. It's obviously not super large. I think does it qualify as the medium-sized ones that they
I mean, let me break it down for you, Jeff. This is one of those maps out there where sometimes you see long games and sometimes you see short games, but it could also be in the middle.
Tasteless, is that you? I guess my point is I think he's going to do the Stargate possibly into double Stargate because that seems to be his comfort zone.
It's something he did in the previous game. That doesn't mean he's necessarily not going to do it again.
2 out of 4 games.
But it's absolutely possible.
You're still on that meme. All right.
I'm sorry. No, you're spot on. I think I'm with you. But this map is not that big. But then again, you could say that double Stargate is very safe. If you don't lose that Oracle, in general, it is very safe.
I mean, like, that is the good news for Neeb. He's like, if I can just do my normal build without massive mistakes, I guess I win this series.
Yeah.
Because even with the massive mistakes, he's still, you know, won. I do have to laugh, though, because the 2 wins by Neeb were the, like, oh no shoves, where you're like, oh my God, I'm way behind, I have to attack, and then you win. Because the other side of that story is, oh no, I have to attack, and you die. Like, it literally goes down to just that in that moment.
We'll keep a close eye on the build orders here in Game 5. I don't mind double Stargate on Blue Shift.
Okay.
But I have the feeling it's going to be a little bit more similar to what we saw on Acid Plant, where he follows it up with obviously the Archons and the Warp Prism. Then hopefully this time he doesn't warp in the High Templars in front of 2 Queens. Because it all started with that, right?
Yes.
Once it starts with that Warp Prism eating the first 5 or 6 shots, just the rest becomes so much easier to defend for the Zerg.
Adept looks like it's not going to finish inside that mineral line.
I do like, in the end of the day, I like the start in the previous game for Neeb, where Neeb was picking off 4 drones and Reynor picked off 2 probes. Okay, this time the link count is a little bit higher, and now this actually becomes rather intimidating for Neeb. He's gonna end up losing a lot of workers, oh my goodness, and that pylon is probably gonna go down before the Adept comes out. Oh my goodness.
It's close, but it does die. 1 Adept shades back over, but the pylon was blocking it, which means it's not gonna be powered for a very long time. 6 Zerglings got 5 probe kills in the mineral. It's still not powered, the gateway. There's not a pylon being made at all.
Neeb can be very fortunate that Reynor is not going full NA here and makes 28,000 Zerglings, because then the game would have been over. But this is still a disastrous start for Neeb.
It's not good.
No, it's not good at all.
Already behind in workers. Everything's been scouted out, including that Oracle that just came out.
These links are not done yet. These links could potentially get 1. Oh, Warp Gate! Oh my goodness, the pylon is too far on the north side. So he's not powering his cybernetic score, and that means that Warp Gate technology is not being researched.
Just now gets restarted here. At least he noticed. It could have been the kind of thing where he doesn't for a long time and just dies outright.
I feel now you have to go double Stargate. Because, like, you can't really rely on any sort of Warp Gate stuff. It's just too late, right? Like, obviously, you can never play a Twilight build here unless you go straight into Archons, because you have some extra time for that, but I don't know.
Well, it's going to be a big question. Can Neeb dig himself out of this? He's down 7 workers, and at this stage, that's not common. You don't usually trail like that
This is not good either. He really doesn't have a lot of units. Losing these 2 Adepts, Jeff, that makes it so much harder for Neeb to go up to 3 bases. He barely has any units.
Yeah, those were the ones that he used for that. He still has the Oracle, which can guard a Nexus if he can. I feel terrible. He still has the Oracle, and then it dies.
No, it's not going to die, but it definitely took a lot of damage. Oh my goodness, Neeb has been putting himself in a pretty bad position here in Game 5.
So far, no second Stargate, nothing, by the way. There's no Robo. He's just rebuilding probes that he lost, I suppose.
And look at Reynor. Reynor's firing up 14 links. He's like, hey, I know how this went. Okay, I think Reynor is almost reading this as you probably will go double Stargate again. Reynor has been vocal about this, by the way, saying that he hates the double Stargate build, and he really thinks it's super annoying to play against, and that Phoenixes are really good. Wow, Baneling Nest being thrown down already as well.
And +1 melee.
Reynor is like gonna do the weirdest Baneling bust almost of like 50 drones here.
He might mix it up a little bit.
He's making an insane amount of units. If Neeb reads this correctly, I would say you could stay on 2 bases, but I mean, you could say that
20 lings coming out.
This is not good for Neeb. I mean, he really doesn't have much at home. This Adept attack is really not going to achieve much at all. Where's that shade going? Did he shade defensively?
No,
yes.
Yep, back home. Lings will not get in here, but it's Lings. It's all Lings behind this. Now, the good news for Neeb...
Did he scout the Baneling Nest, guys? Can we take a look?
He's not making a 3rd yet.
Did Neeb see the Baneling Nest?
The Lings are hitting at the natural, by the way.
Does not.
And they get a lot of the Adepts. They actually shade back. No, forward. And that's actually kind of good. He sees that there's a ton of links coming. I guess he would have known anyways.
Need to re-wall, though. The biggest problem here, I feel, for Neeb is that he doesn't have a lot of firepower at home. Where's that Oracle? All right, the Oracles show up, and the Oracles are going to save the day. I feel at this point it's not that bad anymore for Neeb, because Reynor, this is almost a little similar to what he did against Maru, made an insane amount of units in the face of the game where he technically didn't really have to. And if you ask me, Neeb is completely back into this game, Jeff. Like, I'm not loving Neeb's position.
No.
But I also don't hate it as much as I did a minute or two ago.
Oh, okay. Hello. Get back inside the wall, boys. Had he started a third and it got canceled, that kind of damage, I would say it's really good for Reynor, but none of that happened.
That's what Reynor was trying to look for, obviously. Good shade there by Neeb. Might end up losing an Adept or two, of course, against these Links. 3 Adepts actually go down, but a couple of Links went down as well. But Neeb could potentially go for a 2-base attack here.
Yeah.
Because the lair was very late for Reynor, because he made so many Zerglings. The lair was very late. It's like 7 or 8 gates in total?
Yes. With charge, gonna be done by the time you get there. A couple of Archons.
This Neeb is just gonna put all of his eggs in one basket here, but I'm kind of liking the way that that basket looks. Now he does drop a Nexus.
Reynor's up to 1,300 minerals. I think he saved all his larvae. Yeah, there it is. 10, 20 roaches-ish coming out with speed. If this attack hits with that finished, which it will, it's going to be a problem.
This is going to be really interesting, because I have the feeling Neeb wants to attack, but at the same time I have the feeling that Reynor wants to attack. Both players want to attack each other. Gets the sentry there, that's very nice. The Link's going to get the wraparound. These Links do have +1 melee, and once again, Reynor is going to get a cancel on one of these Nexi.
Well, at least it was a cancel this time. The Oracle's spotting this out, and they will see the production of roaches, so Neeb is informed.
Yeah.
You do not do a charge lot Archon attack into that kind of a composition. I just don't think you do it.
No, I think I'm with you. And obviously now Reynor is like, okay, you saw all my roaches, so I guess now I drone up again.
Yeah.
I think for both players this is a tiny bit awkward, because I think Neeb was really eager to attack after losing quite a few probes and seeing the amount of units that Reynor made. But now he's like, okay, well, I can't really attack into that. If I do attack into that, you're just going to kite me into oblivion. I'm going to lose my Archons one by one.
Reynor's getting Baneling speed and a lot of Lings behind this.
Yeah, but he's also been droning up, though, right? He's at 65 drones now, so I feel that it's not a crazy all-in or something.
Kevin, it's coming. Look.
No, I don't disagree with you. Like, he's obviously committing to it, but this is one of those moments where Reynor, it's not like Reynor is on the clock, right?
Right,
Like,
no,
he has to win the game right now or it's over.
Nope, it's more of a tech investment than anything else. He's putting everything else on kind of cooldown with that, but speed Banelings at this stage, there's not going to be Storm. It's going to have to be like Archons and good spreading. If they connect with the Zealots at all, he's going to the round of 8.
Yeah, Neeb hasn't built a probe in like the last 2.5 minutes of this game. I mean, he's still at 48. This was the 48. I think, okay, now the Links are going to get the wraparound here again. But I think that this is a tell for Reynor as well, even though a couple probes will get transferred. These Links don't have +2 yet. Reynor is going to save the day, I think, right?
I think Neeb saved the Nexus.
Yeah, excuse me, Neeb.
And he's now chasing back this army.
That was a lot of Zerglings as well. That young Reynor just lost a careful with the War Prism. There is a couple Queens here in the front. That Phoenix takes quite a bit of damage. It's really important the Prism lives.
Edge of the creep. The Archons are very strong here. There's not that many Banelings, actually, that I could see. He's making only 4 there, 10, 12. He's got a handful of them. They're good. But if they don't connect now, the Ravager at the front lines here, a little bit of a sloppy engagement from Reynor. He's trying to buy time for the Banelings.
And more Banelings coming in from the south side. Those were good Corrosive Vials. Can the Banelings connect with the Zealots over there on the north side? Seems like the answer is yes. And now I really like it for the Italian.
And he's going to clamp down on top of this. The range units of the Zerg is just jumping on top of those Archons. Their health getting depleted. There's no Zealots to support this. Where's the reinforcements? But the Immortals all stay alive, and that fire base behind this very powerful. With the Zerglings coming in, is it too much of a buffer? The Immortals still getting held back. They're falling back. But where's the reinforcements? He's up to 1,300 mils. Neeb is just not warping in units.
I think he was afraid to put his Prism in phase mode, right? Like, because then obviously Corrosive Vial can take it out, and he needed that Prism to micro the Immortals. I think Neeb did a great job there microing, but yes, couldn't spend his money.
Yeah.
He did do a little bit of economic damage, so, I mean, if Neeb spends his money now, army-wise, it actually doesn't look that bad, Jeff.
He's got to spend his money right now, and he cannot have those Banelings connect once more. I do like this. There's no anti-air here. So he's actually, even just with the one Oracle, going to be able to be annoying and chase this back and buy time, Roddy. He needs that time.
The Banelings have +2. This Nexus is still a little bit low on health, of course, as well. These Banelings can actually straight up blow up the Nexus. I love the Links. He's distracting Neeb. Banelings going to roll forward. He gets another Nexus. That was a slick maneuver by Reynor.
Absolutely annihilates that third base, excuse me, there. And Neeb falls back on, again, just the same composition. There is no Storm to follow us up. He's going to remake that Nexus.
You know, the biggest deal here, Jeff, normally this is not even the end of the world for Protoss, right? You're down 25, 30 supply, but if, oh my goodness. If you have Storm, it's not that bad, but often Protoss has +2 already, sometimes even +3 on the way. Right now, you're looking at +2 melee against Immortals and Archons with no upgrades, and that is not a beautiful position to be in as a Protoss player.
And Neeb's going to do his swan song. He's battling it out like the warrior that he is, but he has just outgunned the Warp Prism, takes it in the face, and with it, Neeb is going to fall 3-2 to this young man from Italy. Reynor advances to the round of 8. What a showing by the young guy.
Back-to-back quarterfinals for Reynor. His very first WCS event was Valencia 2 months ago, made it to the quarterfinals, and he does it again here. He gets his revenge on Neeb after Neeb eliminated him from the GSL. This time it's young Reynor advancing to the round of 8. What a great run so far for him already, Jeff.
Fantastic series by both these players, but you got to be excited about the guy with the gigantic smile on that stage, living the dream of a young StarCraft 2 pro gamer. And he's going to meet with Smix, and I want to hear from him soon. There's Neeb, unfortunately not going to advance, but we'll see him at BlizzCon as one of the fan favorites.
He, of course, has collected enough WCS points over the year, and we are still going to see him at the end of the year. Very excited for it. But for now, let's hear from Reynor as he's on stage with Sue.
Thank you very much, guys. Congratulations, Reynor. At your second WCS event ever, you make back-to-back quarterfinals, but not just that, you do so taking down a 3-time WCS champion in a best-of-5. I mean, what does that even feel like?
It feels really good, even though I'm a bit sad for Neeb because I'm really sure he could have done really good. So, but it feels really good, especially because I'm quite confident against Terran now, and I only have Terran, so I'm really happy.
I was looking at your match history against Neeb, and 3 weeks ago you played him in the GSL, and back then it was a 2-0 loss, and 3 weeks later you play him here on the Montreal stage and you take the win in a best-of-5. So in 3 weeks, what's changed?
I think just after the Maru game, the one that I threw, and even the one that he proxied me, I was a bit sad, and I wasn't there with my brain, so I played really bad. But now I think I played better, so I'm happy.
One last question about this series. I saw that after the loss that you had on Lost and Found, you looked very, very disappointed. You were in the lead for most of that map, so what do you think happened to let that map slip away?
I keep losing so many games like this. I had most of the game, but then they attack me and I die, so it's really like I was ahead and I knew that, so I was really sad after that map, and I was a bit concerned because I didn't really like the next map, so I'm happy that it worked out in the end though.
It worked out indeed, and now you'll be moving forward. You're playing Euthermal, and I know you said you're very confident against Terran. Does that mean you're already looking forward all the way to the Grand Finals?
Yeah.
He says yes, so we'll see if that becomes a reality tomorrow. Congratulations again on making it to the quarterfinals. Nathaniel, let's head back to you to wrap up day number 2.
Thank you so much, Smix, and a big congratulations to that little boy, Reynor, taking the victory 3-2 over the American Titan in Neeb. Gentlemen, this series was back and forth, a stressful match worthy of our final circuit event.
Can we call him a little boy still? I feel like he's become a man at this point.
Once you hit the quarterfinals a few times in a row, once you make it to that,
they just gave you the man card early. You're there.
Yeah, he's earned it at this point. I mean, especially after that series, he was just overpowering there, and I just love the way he plays. You know, the Zerglings, it's like, no, you're going to be prepared. Neeb's not going to let them in, but I mean, those Zerglings, they constantly come in right after a unit leaves the wall in. There's Banelings finding probes. I feel like it's a game of hide and seek, and the probes are constantly hiding and the Banelings are constantly finding them.
The number of Nexus cancels he got during that series was absurd. Yeah. I mean, my Protoss heart was aching, but at the same time, Reynor is just such an awesome player to cheer for, so it's like, wow.
Yeah, at the end there, that third base was just such a point of contention, and
you just couldn't keep it up, man.
No.
There's +2 melee Zerglings or +2 Banelings as well.
+2 Banes are pretty good against pros.
Just click on a Nexus as well sometimes. I mean, that's Reynor's style in a nutshell, right? It's get kind of into that stage and just keep fighting and keep on fighting. And even early on in Cerulean Falls, you know, I felt like there was a moment where Reynor overextended and gave up a little bit of a lead, and it didn't matter. Because from then it was Banelings just swinging into mineral lines, Hydra splitting up, coming from all sides, and that's what we're coming to love about Reynor's play. And the one thing I think that was missing, which I kind of expected before the series, was Neeb maybe getting a build order win or two with something very cheeky and precise, but it felt like he tried to take him on in straight-up games, and Reynor was just the more precise, more perfect player today.
All right, well, big congratulations to Reynor as he moves on. We were talking about he'll be playing against Euthermal tomorrow. Let's take a look at our bracket. This is your top 8 for the final StarCraft 2 WCS circuit event. We have Sarah going up against Scarlet, Lambo, Showtime, Time versus Hero Marine, and Euthermal versus Reynor. Really curious to see what would happen if we had a weird match where Time had to play against Showtime. we might be able to step the pun game up a little bit more.
Time for Showtime. I don't know.
If you make a time pun, is it just making a pun on both of their names or one of them?
I don't know, and I'm not ready to find out. Highlight moment for you guys today, something that you really enjoyed.
I mean, I enjoyed a lot of the games, especially all the 3-2s. I think there's kind of like a sadness in the Protoss corner of my heart for a lot of the Protoss players who were so close to coming through their series. You know, Shadone 2-3 to Scarlet. Yeah. We had a Haas 2-3 to Time, and now Neeb 2-3 to Reynor. So a lot of those Protoss players narrowly missing out, but I'm very excited to see Showtime carry that Protoss flag tomorrow.
I mean, for me, definitely, I have to think about the Haas versus Time series, game number 4, that crazy base trade that happened. I know a lot of people got hype about that. Besides that, I mean, special place in my heart for Jon Snow taking a game off of Cyril and then being ahead in the second game. Like, what is actually happening right now? But yeah, just a lot of really good games today, I would say.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for your input. That just about does it here for day number 2 of WCS Montreal. Join us tomorrow as we crown our final champion of the year, and also maybe some surprises in store for you, some things about that game, StarCraft, you may have heard of, some changes perhaps. Join us tomorrow, find out more, and we'll see you then. Have a great night.